on what happened earlier today. CNN meteorologist Chad Myers joins me now from CNN Center in Atlanta. He's been monitoring all the seismic activity, and this earthquake, so powerful, it was felt all the way in New Delhi. Tell us more about what you've learned about it.
You really couldn't call it an aftershock, although it's very close. I think the earthquake, the 7.8 earlier in the month, actually created more stress on this area. Here's the original earthquake, Kathmandu, and the new earthquake today. Now, there have been many aftershocks along the same fault line, but think about an earthquake when the ground shakes. It's not just one point. The ground actually rips apart. That's why we saw that big crack right through the middle of Kathmandu. That crack, that rip, that shearing, that tearing apart of the zipper went all the way through and down toward Kathmandu. And this time, the earthquake here continued that rip, continued that zipper, continued tearing the world apart there in Kathmandu area. We'll kind of zoom in here a little bit closer for you. The earthquake epicenter farther to the east in Kathmandu than the last one, but the earthquake shaking did get all the way back into Kathmandu with significant shaking for many, many people here. About 10,000 people were killed in 1934. It's 2015 now, over 8,000 people. Now, understand now, back in the 30s, we had a very large earthquake here, somewhere over 8. We don't really know the number, but over 8. But the population density wasn't what it is now. The population density, so many people here. Right today, strong earthquake right there. 3.8 million people felt that shaking here at the earthquake. And now we're looking at this pager data, about a 35% chance that there's between 100 and 1,000 fatalities. Earlier today was down here, somewhere in the 10 to 100. Now the USGS's Geological Survey thinking that there will be more fatalities with this because of how strong the shaking was. It's a 7 to 8. It's a major quake. Then there are about 15 major quakes this large every year. But the problem with this, Christy, is that these buildings were already fragile. They were already broken. And now they're broken again by this shaking. So the buildings that were barely standing are now still collapsing. And more aftershocks. Absolutely, Christy.
That's right. Buildings were already compromised from the previous major earthquake. And looking at that video that we got in from the Red Cross, of course, cliffs and mountainsides causing landslides because of all the seismic activity. And it's because of the seismic activity, it's led to this history of earthquakes in Nepal. That's why we've seen the formation of the Himalayas and Mount Everest there. Will there be more seismic activity ahead, more aftershocks, Chad?
Absolutely. The Indian plate here is crashing into the Eurasian plate and creating the mountains. It's the reason why we have Mount Everest, why we have K2, why we have the top of the world right here. As this plate crashes in, land crashing into land, it's going up, not going under like it can around Japan or around the west coast of America. It's going up, and so this crashing, every time it crashes, the earth moves. Every time it shakes, the strain, and I can guarantee there will be aftershocks in the 6 range here for those people trying to find survivors, no question.
And Chad, you're our severe weather expert. One thing that I keep hearing from aid workers on the ground in Nepal is the threat of aftershocks coupled with the monsoon season coming up.
Right.
Remind us why that is a deadly combination.
Because you have stone, rock, land that's not attached to where it was. If you start to push a lot of rain on top of that mud, on top of those rocks that are already loose, those rocks will fall down. You'll get landslides, avalanches, mudslides. And so as we get out of May and into June, we're starting to see almost 250 millimeters of rain. And then on up into July, almost a half a meter of rain will fall in that area, in Kathmandu, in July itself, and all of a sudden those loose boulders, that loose dirt, the soil is eroded, the trees are broken, they're gone, there's no roots holding that dirt in. As soon as that happens, as soon as it gets wet, all of that will begin to slide downhill. These are very steep mountains.
Yeah, and very dangerous conditions indeed. Chad Myers, many thanks indeed for your report.